Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. I'm so tired of Trump, MAGA, the GOP, and pro-black imposters exploiting black people to vote for Trump so MAGA can erase civil rights gains that we so desperately need. I'm sick of it. Here's what I'm talking about. A huge voting rights case was handed down yesterday by a federal appellate circuit court involving the Voting Rights Act. Essentially, it gutted the last section of the Voting Rights Act by ruling that private citizens cannot bring lawsuits under that section. This is a death knell for the Voting Rights Act in that district. This section is so critical because SCOTUS already gutted the most important sections of the Voting Rights Act in 2013 in the Shelby County versus Holder case. A Trump judge helped gut this key section yesterday. So if you are an African-American Trump voter in 2016 and 2014, shame on you. Now let's get real. You helped elect a man who built a federal court system that just told you that you can't sue for your voting rights anymore if you live in the affected district. Yes, you heard that right. Thanks to judges appointed by Trump and Bush, a federal appellate circuit court ruled that your community, and your civil rights groups, that is us African Americans in that circuit, have no power to challenge racial gerrymandering under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. You literally gave your vote to a man who took away your right to fight for that vote. That's not thinking for yourself. That's not critical thinking. That's getting played twice, or at least once. The second time you did it consciously. Now let's break down what happened, because this ruling is one of the most dangerous attacks on black political power in a decade. The case is Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, versus Howe. In 2021, North Dakota redrew the legislative districts in a way that split Native communities across voting lines, and that diluted their power. That's racial gerrymandering. The tribes sued under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which since 1965 has been used to fight racial gerrymandering. A district court judge agreed with the tribes that the map violated federal law. But then the appeals court, the Eighth Circuit, staffed with a Trump judge, overturned it. And here, let me take you to the case so that you can see what this court said. All right? So, United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. All right? Now, we'll go straight to the language that did away with private rights to sue under Section 2. It says, in Arkansas State Conference, NAACP, versus Arkansas Board of Apportionment, we held that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not provide an implied private right of action to remedy certain voting guarantees contained in the Act. The question before us today is whether private plaintiffs, that's us individuals, that's the NAACP, that is anyone other than the government, private actors, private plaintiffs, whether we can instead maintain a private right of action for alleged violation of Section 2 through 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. We answer this question in the negative. In other words, no, and vacate the judgment of the district court. All right? That is a real bummer. Basically, they said private citizens no longer have the right to sue under Section 2. Now, this is the kicker. Only the U.S. Attorney General can bring those cases in that district. Now, this doesn't apply around the country. There are other circuits that disagree with this circuit, and that increases the chances of this case making it in front of SCOTUS, and SCOTUS will have the final say. Now, SCOTUS can say, something I doubt very seriously, that they're not going to accept the case. I believe SCOTUS will accept this case because when you have different circuits coming to different conclusions, the Supreme Court typically take up those kinds of cases. So SCOTUS will have the last say. But SCOTUS having the last say is no consolation. Why? Because Trump put 3 of those justices on the court, on SCOTUS. Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett. And they are not friends of the Voting Rights Act. So that is the result of blacks voting for Trump in 2016 and an increasing number of blacks voting for Trump in 2024, or the fact that many blacks did not vote in both 2016 and 2024. And I'm going to continue to say this because I've got to connect the dots. I want African Americans to see there are consequences when you vote for white supremacists. But for now, these states, I'll go over those states in just a moment, and you can see if you live in one of these states, you will be bound by this court decision. Okay? So, did you hear what I just said? Now, folks in that district, for these types of cases, will have to rely on the Attorney General of the United States of America. Who is the Attorney General? You got it right, Pam Bondi. Unless Pam Bondi, Trump's new Attorney General, decides to sue on your behalf or some other private citizen, then you're silenced. And good luck with Pam Bondi suing for a civil rights violation on behalf of any African American. In fact, the DOJ's Civil Rights Office that handles these kinds of cases is run by a woman who filed a brief in a similar case that argued for this very outcome, or one just as negative. So good luck with Attorney General Bondi and the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Justice. Now, let's go in this a little bit deeper. So, again, a Trump-appointed judge, someone he appointed to the bench in 2016, helped bring about this particular outcome. So this is not an accident. No, this is strategy. Trump and the GOP put these kinds of judges on the bench for the specific purpose of rolling back civil rights. Since day one, Trump and his backers had a judicial plan to put certain types of judges on the bench who would do precisely what this judge did, which is stack the court, with young, white, ultra-conservative, right-wing judges so that they can erase the civil rights gains of the 1960s. I spent all of 2024 making multiple videos warning African Americans exactly what they would do. Because what they are about is protecting white political power, state by state, district by district. So if you thought that Trump cares about black people because he took a photo with Kanye or ranted about the platinum plan, then you were sadly bamboozled. He handed your future to judges just like the one who participated in this case. And the result is, if you live in Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and your state dilutes your community's voting power on purpose, you can't sue. Not under Section 2. Not anymore. Your right to fight for fair representation is now in the hands of Pam Bundy, who is a Trump loyalist confirmed by a Trump Congress. You trusted Trump with your vote. That is, if you are a black Trump voter. Some of you say, well, I voted with the majority of African Americans. I get that, but there are two caveats. Number one, most blacks didn't vote. Number two, several million, about 2 million African Americans voted for Trump. And that was enough to give him victory. And the same thing happened in 2016 when he put a bunch of right-wing judges on the courts and did other things to undermine civil rights. And he rewarded you by giving your enemies control of your future. So we can't make excuses about this. Some of you say things like, well, Trump gave HBCUs funding, or he got black unemployment low, or he signed the First Step Act. Listen, folks, HBCU funding was approved by Congress, and that funding was put in place under Obama. Trump just signed the check. And Representative Alma Adams of North Carolina had to force him to do that. And regarding unemployment, unemployment was already going down when Trump took office in 2016. And the truth of the matter is, Joe Biden had the lowest black unemployment, not Trump. And the First Step Act, that was written by Democrats and watered down by Republicans. Trump took credit for it. But that was a bipartisan bill that was mostly, again, authored by Democrats. And so here we are as a community. We can't sue under that law if we live in this particular district. So he didn't elevate black folk. He didn't elevate you. He emptied your toolbox and then called it empowerment. And a lot of you put your trust in Trump because you're listening to pro-black imposters who look pro-black, sound pro-black, but they're not. You can't be pro-black and pro-Trump. And listen, Trump's fighting a much bigger war. The war Trump is fighting is implementing Project 2025. Some of these pro-black imposters, they played Project 2025 down. And here it is, a roadmap to rewrite the federal government to serve white, conservative rule and also to replace civil servants with MAGA loyalists, and many of those civil servants are African American. And also, obviously, they've been working to remove federal protections for African American people, destroying DEI, affirmative action, and the Voting Rights Act. So this ruling is a piece of that goal, that machine, that MAGA movement. And Trump is using the votes of black people to accomplish this. He's the one who's greasing the gears. Let me just be really straight up. My ancestors didn't survive Jim Crow, poll taxes, literacy tests for us to hand our rights over to the very people who tried to keep us out of the voting booth in the first place. And yet some of you are running to the same political party, the GOP, that's turning back the clock. We got to stop this. This is frustrating. I feel like a physician who spent a year telling his patients, stop eating this food. This food will kill you. And a year later, a bunch of his patients began to die. And he's sitting there helpless, knowing that he warned them. But they didn't listen. Instead, they were listening to people on TV. That's how I feel. Again, you gave your vote to a man who gave your power to the courts, and the courts gave it to your enemies. Wake up. I'm going to try to end this on a positive note by asking, where do we go from here? Number one, folks, you got to understand what just happened and why it happened. I'm not doing this video just to be doing it. This isn't a headline. It's your civil rights being buried and rolled back. You also got to start organizing. You got to start organizing and mobilizing. Why? Because in just a year and a half, we're going to have the opportunity to vote again in the 2026 midterms. Now, many people think that Trump and MAGA have rigged this election, and I can't say that they haven't. But I know this, if we show up in overwhelming numbers, something I call impact voting, whatever they got cooked up won't work. To borrow a phrase from Trump, if we show up in big numbers, our victory will be too big to rig. We got to stop falling for right-wing, pro-black talking points. We got to reject that garbage. We got to reject that garbage. What more do we need now at this point to see that Trump ain't for us? Trump isn't like us. Trump doesn't have anything good for us. And whatever he does, it is to trick and deceive us into what? Voting for him. So in 2026, we got to vote like our freedom depends on it, because it does. So to every black Trump voter, you were warned. I warned you specifically. And now the proof is in federal court records. And I hope you have a change of mind. I hope you have a change of mind. I hope you see, after these 3 or 4 months, that he's not for you. It's time to exit. It's time to take the exit and get off this Trump highway. I know you've been told the Democrats are just as bad. Voting doesn't help. Voting has accomplished nothing. We don't need civil rights. That's all disinformation that was designed to accomplish what it accomplished with a lot of folks who don't know our history, who are frustrated with the Democrats, frustrated with their economics. They knew that. They manipulated that. But just look at the results. We're losing almost every day, and we still practically have 4 years left. We don't have any more time for confusion or delusion or disinformation. We don't have any time for that now. All we have time for now is defiance. We need you to be defiant of Project 2025 and anyone who tells you to support this. And we need you to get there now. I'm Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Always remember, stay woke.